Thank you for participating in SPO online training. This workshop is designed to give cardholders an overview of the P-Card program and understand the responsibilities of each cardholder. The P-Card program was first procured competitively in 2001, with the award going to First Hawaiian Bank. A second solicitation was issued in 2009. The SPO received proposals from Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Beeline Financial, and First Hawaiian Bank. First Hawaiian Bank again was awarded the contract. The current contract will expire in September 2014, with two additional two-year options to extend until 2018. The P-Card program started out very slowly. Prior to 2004, there was little to no activity. At the time, the P-Card as a method of payment was optional for departments. In 2005, the Comptroller issued a memorandum making the P-Card mandatory for all executive branch departments for purchases less than $2,500. Transaction activities took a huge leap in subsequent years, peaking in 2008 with more than 300 transactions per year. The executive branch accounts for approximately 52% of all transactions. Since 2008, activity has stabilized with the downturn in economy. The dollar volume followed the same course as transaction activity. Prior to 2004, the dollar amount was 1.5 million, with increases in fiscal year 2004 at 6 million. The big surge happened in 2005 with a jump to 44 million with the mandatory requirement. Expenditures increased in subsequent years, peaking in 2008 at 110 million. Since 2008, expenditures have stabilized, averaging about $90 million per year. Prior to 2004, the state and participating jurisdictions did not generate sufficient transactions to obtain any rebates. The contract required a minimum of 1.5 million per quarter, which was not achieved. In 2004, expenditures increased slightly, and the state was able to obtain a small rebate of $4,600. After the mandatory usage requirement, rebates increased substantially. In 2005, 116,000. In 2006, 250,000. In fiscal year 2007, 330,000. And fiscal year 2008, 553,000. In 2009, there was a change in the rebate structure, which increased the percentage. In 2009, the rebate jumped to $644,000, and in fiscal year 2010, the rebate was $545,000. In 2011, a new contract was in place, which also increased the rebate percentage. In fiscal year 2011, the rebate topped 1.1 million, and in 2013, the rebate reached $1.38 million. Although the concept of the purchasing card, or P-Card, has been around for years, many people still are unsure what it is. The state's P-Card is the corporate liability MasterCard with First Hawaiian Bank. The card is in the employee's name, but the expenditure is paid by the department or jurisdiction. Cardholders are reminded that the P-Card is an alternate form of payment and not a procurement method. 72% of P-Card transactions are under $2,500 and 98% are under $50,000, which makes most purchases fall within the small purchase threshold. Using the P-Card does not change the procurement process. Employees are still required to comply with procurement rules and policies, departmental procedures, program manual, and the P-Card holders agreement. Additionally, purchases of $2,500 or more are required to be HC compliant. Cardholders must have appropriate delegation and training. For example, if the P-Card is used for any price and vendor list, the cardholder must take Workshop 190, Price, Vendor List, and Cooperative Agreement. Or, if the card is used to pay for small purchase procurement, Workshop 120 is mandatory. Pursuant to Comptroller Memorandum 2004-36, the P-Card must be used for all purchases under $2,500. There are exceptions to the mandatory usage, which include payment for utilities, petty cash reimbursements, vendors who do not accept the P card, payment for partial services, and payment prior to services rendered, except airline tickets, subscriptions, registration, and those expenditures which normally require prior payment. Obtaining a P card comes with certain responsibilities. The cards are password protected and require photo identification and must be kept in a secure location at all times. The P card may only be used for authorized government purchases. Personal use is strictly prohibited. All P cards are embedded with merchant category code restrictions or blocks. The blocked categories include financial services, cash withdrawals, entertainment, recreation, automobile gasoline, food, hotel, laundry, and cleaning services. Departments may also impose additional merchant category blocks. Automobile gasoline is blocked because the state has a price list for gasoline. The card may not be used for hotel accommodations because collective bargaining agreements require the state to give travelers per diem, which employees may use for hotel expenses. Cardholders are responsible to obtain purchase documentation, for example, sales receipts, packing slips, or online printing receipts. In addition, cardholders are required to verify purchases, ensure the transactions are logged properly, either manually or online using CenterSuite. Reconciling transactions include reviewing for appropriate funding codes, object codes, cost centers, and descriptions. Transactions should be reviewed at least once a week or more often depending on the amount of activity. When errors occur on a statement, the cardholder should first contact the merchant to determine if the error can be resolved. It may be a simple inadvertent error. If unable to resolve the problem, the cardholder should submit a dispute form with First Hawaiian Bank for the unauthorized purchase. If a card is lost or stolen, it should be reported immediately to First Hawaiian Bank and to the department's P card administrator immediately. Employees who retire or change departments must return the card to the appropriate department. It is essential that statements are submitted in a timely manner. Financial institutions may assess late fees and finance fees when departments or jurisdictions don't make payments on time. First Hawaiian Bank does not assess late fees but will impose finance fees on the average balance of the department's total expenses. To avoid these fees, which can amount to thousands of dollars, please adhere to the dates established by your department to submit your reconciled report. In addition to the regular P card, the state's procurement office has established an emergency P card program. The red card is embossed with emergency across the top, so it is easily distinguished from the regular P card. Unlike the regular P card, there are very few merchant category blocks. However, purchases can only be made in conjunction with the governor's emergency proclamation and under the direction of the department's emergency P card procedures. When the emergency card is used, an alert is sent to the bank, who in turn alerts the appropriate department and the state procurement office. If verification of an emergency proclamation cannot be made, the card is immediately deactivated. If the governor has declared an emergency, all transactions will be allowed with a few exceptions. The exceptions include cash withdrawals and financial transactions. Failing to comply with purchasing card programs and procedures and agencies' policies and procedures may result in revocation of P card privileges and disciplinary action for misconduct. Leaving government employment does not absolve a person from any misdeed. Former employees may be responsible to pay for all legal fees incurred by the state to prove employees' liability. Some of the common reasons a P card transaction is denied would include exceeding the credit card's limit, wrong expiration date, invalid CVI code or the three-digit code on the back of the card, or blocked merchant category code. Department's P-card administrator have the ability to log into CenterSuite and determine the specific reason. Periodically, a merchant may have a problem processing a transaction. If you do not see the transaction in CenterSuite, then that means the transaction never reached First Hawaiian Bank. Have the merchant try again or call their processing bank. Occasionally, a cardholder may forget his or her CenterSuite password. If that is the case, use the Forgot Password function to reset. If the account is blocked after 3 missed tries, cardholders must contact their department administrator to have their accounts unlocked and/or reset their password. First Hawaiian Bank customer service is unable to assist cardholders directly. For security purposes, they are only authorized to communicate with the authorized points of contact. Intermittently, a cardholder will report problems logging on to CenterSuite. It may be a problem with the browser. If the cardholders are using Internet Explorer 10, then they will probably have to check on the compatibility button, which is located in the right-hand corner of the URL bar. All P-cards must have photo identification on the back of the card. New cardholders should take a copy of the Notification of State of Hawaii P-card holders letter to the bank to ensure a smooth and easy process. Credit cards are a handy way to pay for purchases, but unauthorized or fraudulent transactions may appear on the account. Unlike other traditional forms of payment, the P-card limits the liability for cardholders and the state or participating jurisdiction. The First Hawaiian Bank Corporate MasterCard limits the liability for the company as long as the bank is notified of unauthorized usage within the time required. Charges that are engaged by the cardholder are considered to be authorized and would not be covered by this benefit. The MasterCard Association has set the maximum amount that a cardholder can be held liable at $50. Instead of making the cardholder liable, First Hawaiian Bank absorbs the $50 deductible, resulting in no losses to the cardholder or to the state. If an unauthorized transaction is found on the account, the cardholder must file a dispute through the bank. A transaction is unauthorized when the cardholder has not engaged with the merchant for the transaction. The bank gets involved in situations where the merchant is unresponsive if the transaction is unauthorized. Zero liability is applicable as long as the cardholder notifies the bank in time, the card is blocked and replaced with a new card and new number, and the cardholder provides the necessary information to the bank. The cardholder and the state will not be held liable for unauthorized transactions on the account. Some tips for zero liability include exercising reasonable care in safeguarding your card from unauthorized use, review statements monthly, and notify the bank immediately if questionable charges appear. A dispute is any situation where you encounter a questionable charge on your account. In many cases, these questionable charges can be resolved directly with the merchant. These include situations where you did buy an item, but you did not receive the merchandise, or you were overcharged, or you want to cancel a service you have enrolled in previously. For these situations, the merchant will most likely be able to resolve the issue more quickly. The bank gets involved in situations where the merchant is unresponsive of the transaction is unauthorized. There are various types of disputes, which include fraudulent, unauthorized transactions, unrecognized transactions, merchandise or credit not received, canceled transactions, duplicate charges, overcharges, or paid by other means. If the transaction was initiated by the cardholder, the merchant should be contacted first. If a dispute must be filed, the first step is to contact the bank. The bank must be notified within 60 days of a questionable transaction appearing on the statement. This is very important as there are statutes of limitations in which the bank has a right to assist with these cases. To file the dispute, cardholders can call the phone number on the back of the card, which is 847-4444. This is also the same number that you would call if you lost your card or if it was stolen. We recommend that cardholders put the phone number in their cell phone in the event of a loss of a card. Administrators can send emails to comelcard@fhb.com. When calling or emailing, the following information is required. What transaction are you disputing? Why are you disputing the charge? Have you attempted to contact the merchant? Do you have supporting documentation? After receiving the information, the bank will forward the information to the disputes team, who will then review the material and send the cardholder a dispute form. The cardholder must sign the document and not the P-card administrator or its designee. The dispute form is available within CenterSuite. Users can go to the Reports tab, and under Standards Report is the Cardholder Dispute Form link. By clicking on this link and selecting which charge is under dispute, a form will be generated and either emailed or emailed directly to the bank. The dispute form will contain the cardholder's name and contact information. The form, again, must be signed by the cardholder only. First Hawaiian Bank will review the evidence needed to proceed and will contact the dispute rules and regulations to see if the bank can assist. The cardholder may be contacted for additional information. The rules are not set by First Hawaiian Bank, but by MasterCard's association rules and regulations. If the dispute rules and regulations allow for the dispute, First Hawaiian Bank will process a chargeback or a reversal of the charge. If the merchant does not challenge the dispute, the case is considered resolved and a credit will appear on the account. If the merchant challenges the dispute, the bank will send a letter to the cardholder and enclose copies of the merchant's response. In order to proceed further, the cardholder must respond to the bank's letters. Upon resolution of the dispute, a letter will be sent to the cardholder. In summary, review your statements monthly or more often if necessary. If transaction is unauthorized, please contact the merchant first. Notify the bank immediately if you need to dispute a charge, and you should submit all requested documentation in a timely manner. Department has standard forms for new account setup. Cards that do not have any activity in a 12-month period will be deactivated. Only emergency P cards are exempt from this requirement. Black plastic is used for regular P cards and red plastic for emergency P cards. An abbreviated version of the merchant category code listing is available on the SPO website. Periodically, an agency may need to use the P card to make a purchase from the list of blocked purchases. The Form SPO 35 request for using the P card for block purchases was developed to address these situations. The form is used by all jurisdictions and requires departmental P card administrator and department head approval. Agencies must submit the form a minimum of 7 days prior to the event. Otherwise, agencies should make alternate payment arrangements. All SPO Form 35s require CPO approval. Upon approval, a copy of the form is sent to the contact person and to the bank. The next two slides are examples of the SPO Form 35. Item 1 is for the cardholder name. Item 2 is the last 4 digits of the P-card number. Number 3 is the expense description, like interstate transportation. Item 4 is the merchant category code based on the MCC listing. The effective date is the date the card will be used for a specific transaction. Normally, the cards will be unblocked at 8 o'clock in the morning and the block reimposed at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Section 6 must include a justification for the expenditure and authority to purchase. For example, if this were a request to unblock food items, A comptroller memorandum may be required depending on the type of meeting and agenda. It is important to designate a person to whom STO may question, including a phone number and email address. The STO Form 35 is signed by both the P-card administrator and the department head. Once STO receives the form, it is logged and numbered for easy reference. A review is made by STO staff and a final determination made by the CPO or designee. When the STO returns the form to the requesting department, it is important to note that CPO comments which may include additional or conditional instructions. Cardholder security is critical to the success of the program and equally important on personal credit cards. The state's P-card is embedded with certain security features, but cards must be signed immediately as unsigned cards are not valid. It is highly recommended that the customer service number be put in the cardholder's cell phone in order to report a stolen card in a timely manner. Do not write the card's secret code on the card or keep in your wallet. There are multiple security tips to minimize risk, which include self-policing your accounts, checking balances and activity on a regular basis. The bank has an unusual activity report which may result in deactivating a card, so advising customer service of out-of-state travel, including dates and destination, is important, and immediately notifying card issuer of any unauthorized transaction. There are all kinds of fraud methods, but the 7 common methods include stolen cards, cards not present for transactions, identity theft and account takeover, skimming, which includes unauthorized cashback on a credit card charge. There's also phishing or vishing, which perpetrators get cardholders to click on a link, therefore getting access to sensitive financial information, and database compromise. The best way to protect yourself would be to sign your cards, shred your mail, keep an eye on your credit card, never respond to emails, websites, or text messages requesting that you call or input your account number, expiration date, or PIN, and keep a list of customer service numbers on the backs of your credit cards separately or in your cell phone in case of loss. Additionally, only carry around the cards that you need. Reconcile monthly, report unauthorized charges promptly, never lend a card to anyone, and notify your card issuer in advance, especially of international travel and changes of addresses. More information about the P-card program can be found on the STO website at sto.hawaii.gov. The website will include contact information as well as procurement circulars and the STO Form 35.